We are back and we're going to talk about creating a physical experience. This is essentially part of physical health. The idea is it's very hard to create a new experience if the person that you're helping out or assisting doesn't believe that you understand them. There's going to be resistance then in the things that you say, in the areas that they are challenged with. So we have to have this bonding of two worlds. The practitioner, one, must have a very good understanding of their own personal world and the things that kind of motivate them and takes away motivation from them so that they can contrast this biased out when they go into the world of the other person. When we say going into the world of the other person to create this physical experience, we need to know that we are essentially just navigating why they say yes or no to things, why they prefer things over other things, why they stay away from certain situations versus others, why do they feel so passionately about this circumstance versus that one. If all things essentially are neutral, what are the things that colors this person's world? And in being able to dive into that, and contrast ourselves out, then we're able to see kind of the world through their perspective. We will have the ability to split kind of what our reaction would be to that situation, what their reaction will be to the situation, what is their motivator for their reaction, and what is the neutralizing kind of effect. I find in this way it's very reaffirming to the person that you might know some things about their personality that they might not be able to see. They build a strong trust with your opinions and insights only because you're willing to already be vulnerable yourself, be open, talk freely, and be understanding and compassionate to the person. Once we're able to kind of cross that bridge, then we can start to build this physical experience. So now the person is feeling understood, and now when we go through their kind of perception of life, we can start to build, let's say, a solid foundations of kind of their mental atmosphere. Now, in this way, we can provide solutions, essentially provide the experience of where that solution may be found. Again, the person has to find this experience themselves, although we might cultivate a environment where it's most likely to be kind of found. That being said, the challenge may be that if the person is very, let's say, focused on mental achievements and mental aspirations, we can have a harder challenge using the mental atmosphere as a way of kind of grounding things through the more sensory world, right? For example, if I know for a fact that doing 2 push-ups a day will cause me to have pain in my shoulder, therefore I will stay away from all push-up things, then it's a lot harder for somebody to suggest that push-ups are a great thing. In fact, even when you give, let's say, the logical explanations for why it's good, we will have strong mental resistance to this thing. So we can't use that avenue. We have to use a different way because that's too fortified. We might then say, okay, well, let's take a look at how you're doing these push-ups. And I might be able to point out that, hey, you know what? Because your shoulders are so much rounded in the push-up, of course this is going to cause pain and discomfort. So let's change that. Once I change the technique and you could do 3 or 4 push-ups and not feel pain, there is automatically a disruption to this old thought pattern. And that could be broken down. Then we could go back to using the mental atmosphere to explain this thing. Or we might have a challenge with the emotional atmosphere. Well, last time I did a push-up, I was severely hurt, and I never want to do something like it again because it's so painful. This may not be true anymore. We might have done previous exercises to build up the strength. We might have done rehab to those areas. The person is strongly resistant, not necessarily mentally, but from the emotional attachment to the physical sensation. That's a little bit more challenging. We then have to try to use the mental atmosphere to say, okay, well, Let's take a look at your lifestyle. Are there any movements in your lifestyle that actually mimic this pattern that you've done without pain? And we might say, yeah, well, I push my car door closed and I open my car door. I push my door open and I close my door. Sometimes when I'm at the mall, I have to push those heavy doors and they don't open very well, so I have to push some strength behind it and then it opens. Well, this is similar to a push up. It is the exact same action. Let's take a look. Is it this thing that you do? Yes. Okay, no problem. So let's first, instead of going to the most intense version of what a push up is, let's start here with something that is like a wall push up, which is the same movement but with less of a, let's say, a less of body weight behind it, so that way it's softer and gentler. Now that I see that I could do that without being hurt, I feel more calm, I feel more relaxed. Now I don't tense up, and my body's ready to have that reaction before the actual reaction happens. In that way, even when we get to the push-up thing, and we might feel a little discomfort, it won't be the extreme shock and pain that I had before, but it'd be a noticeable uneasy feeling. And I could say, hey, that didn't feel right. We could readdress it, and we might pick a different way to do the exercise. But the person then feeling control of what they do and don't do, their sensations and their actions and the experience better lining up, there's less drastic change in the experience. It's not going to be so emotionally tense. Therefore, now we have a bridge between all three things, and we can now solve for an experience that's a lot more realistic in its nature, a lot more neutral, I guess, is a better way to say, in its perceptions, feelings, and actions. In this way, we can really start to get to the physical experiencing of things, and that being the understanding that the mental and emotional experiences themselves are balanced and congruent with the physical happenings of things. In this way, we have a balance of the kind of, let's call it the self-care system, and this person will not be too timid to do it by themselves, would not be afraid to try it in different scenarios, and will have many experiences to draw on where this thing was different than they previously thought. They will not go back to old patterns as easily because they have seemed to be, or been shown to be, less conducive to actual progression. And we have to realize that all people want to be good. All people are looking for progression. All people do not want to be stuck. They might not know the way to get unstuck. They might not be able to see the thing that's limiting them, but they do want to get out of it. And we just have to provide a way that they probably weren't able to see before, or some kind of support that they didn't have before that opens up a way. And in this way, we're able to create the actual physical experience, which is a lot more, again, than the mechanical, let's say, bone moving muscle standard of things. We're just pushing a weight this way. We're just doing an exercise for this purpose of getting bigger and stronger or more stable joints or muscles or those kind of things. We have the humanistic, if you will, experience of that thing. A purpose deeper than the immediate action that strives more closer to the humanity in the person. And that is the ability for that person to want to be a greater version of themselves and see how that plays out. And in this way, it pushes away the blocks that we put up before that were probably based on keeping ourselves safe. We realize that we're stronger than these safety mechanisms and therefore no longer need them, and are now able to experience life in a expansive way as opposed to a very limiting way. All right, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully that adds a little bit more context to your understanding of the physical health umbrella, as well as the more physical experience of a action prescription, or even a lifestyle pursuit. And again, all these things are always purposed by the potential of the individual and making those things more seen and more possible. Thank you very much.